everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Night Raven. And again, today with Wisdom of the Shaman and Jim Ditty. I'm always glad when he's here because he has so much wisdom that he can share. And it's really beneficial for all of us and everybody who listens to the podcast. And before we get into it, I just want to remind everybody, if this is your first episode you're watching, The Night Raven is really like a potluck of every topic that we can think of. It's for truth seekers, storytellers, everybody who likes the unknown and the mysterious. So, and make sure to check back in with other and watch other episodes because we have other topics as well. But today it's Jim with his shamanic wisdom, and we're getting into something really, really cool today. And it is about soul retrieval in a fragmented world. And it's also about a fragmented soul. So it's really something that we can there's a lot to say about that, and Jim has hopefully all the answers. So we will check with him and see what his thoughts are. Before we really get into the nitty gritty, can we just, define what we feel what a soul is and how it can be fragmented, how it can become fragmented?
Sure. Yeah, because that's a word we kick around a lot, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
What's
everybody.
a soul? Yeah, what's a soul? I mean, I think everybody has kind of like a basic thought about that, but if you ask somebody what is a soul, what would somebody say? I guess everybody's different.
Yeah. So for me, from my perspective, I think uh, so. Our mind has a body,
Mm-hmm.
and in my view, our spirit has a soul. So that's uh, that would be like the energetic uh, body for the whatever is transcendental in us, right? So that for me, it's not the soul that continues on; it's the spirit that continues on, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess there's a difference then.
Uh, Negligible, but I mean, to me it is, right? So
Okay. So the soul and the mind is two different things then, I guess.
so yes. So for me, the soul would be the equivalent of the body.
Okay. In the spirit world?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the spirit,
Interesting.
right? So our mind has a body. Our
Uh-huh.
our mind is encapsulated in this body, and it's the same thing that the spirit has a soul.
Oh, I never even looked at it from this angle. That's kind of different. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I don't, I'm not sure I'm right, but that's the premise that I operate from.
I guess nobody really knows if we're right until we cross over again, right? And then we
Yeah.
have all
Right.
the answers. So I guess at this point, it's just speculation as to what we really are and where we're going because
Yeah.
we can't remember. One thing is that we come here with amnesia and we don't remember anything, you
Right.
know?
But that's the mystery.
That's
So
the mystery. I guess it wouldn't be a lesson to be here if we would remember everything because then it wouldn't be, we wouldn't learn from it, I
yeah,
guess.
where would the fun be in
It would be less suffering, that's for sure.
that?
You know? Yeah, I guess I always thought the soul, well, and maybe that's it. Everybody defines it in a different way, but maybe the soul is something that lives on or the spirit is something that lives on after our body dies, because we're just in this shell and yeah. And so, I mean, I that's what I believe, I don't believe in a death where it's just lights off. I believe that this is like a movie that we're in right now, and then when the body dies, we'll just go back to a source, and that's kind of when we rejoin, all the other souls and spirits and all those things. So, but I guess as a soul, we're not perfect either. If we happen to get fragmented, right? I mean, if we're perfect, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but or maybe the soul protects us by becoming fragmented.
Yeah, well, like I feel like for our psychological injuries that our body kind of holds those sorts of injuries. I think it's the same thing really for the soul, right, and the spirit. Uh, if you were to ask how it would get fragmented, I think it would get fragmented much the same way that, your psychological outlook or your personality can get fragmented, right? So there's something that's happening to you that's too much and you just can't process it. I don't really think there's a separation. I think the soul fragments, just like the mind fragments. I think it's all connected.
Yeah. So do you think it is when something traumatic happens to us, part of our soul splits off, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It just kind of fragments off and it carries all the pain and hides somewhere within us to kind of protect us from the pain, or?
Well, so, I kind of tend to think that the soul is like the energetic piece of the spirit.
Okay.
Right. And so I really think, and this is one of the reasons forgiveness is so important, when something happens to you, whatever that might be that you find traumatic, whatever that might be,
Mm-hmm.
a wound or an injury, then I think there's an energetic cord back to that time and place.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of entraps a little bit of your spiritual energy, which I guess is probably how I should refer to the soul at this point. I mean, based on that premise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it gets it entangled, and there's a little piece of your energy always living in that particular moment, right?
Right.
And so no matter how far you get or how far you can stray away from that, there's always like a cord or a tether, like an anchor that holds you to that place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's an interesting discussion. Does the soul split off, or does it get entrapped there like in a spider web, in a sticky web? I don't know, but it's definitely a fracturing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This goes back sort of to some of our earlier episodes where we talked about healing,
Mm-hmm.
is making yourself whole.
Yeah.
So we do the same thing for the physical body. We cut cords. I mean, I guess I should talk about what I think a cord is. I think
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
it is an energy leak, right?
That's what a cord is.
That's in my
Okay.
words, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
So that's a thing, a route, a pipeline, whatever that siphons off a little bit of your energy, right?
Oh, okay.
Are they always bad? No, I don't think they are, right? Parents generally always have cords to their children.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have cords to their partner. I mean, the things you deeply care about, you're invested in, you're going to have a cord.
Of course, absolutely, yes.
That's the way it has to work, because your energy is going to flow where your attention goes, and so if these are things you care about and you value, you're going to have a cord to those, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So I don't think cords in and of themselves are bad, but when you have a cord to something that's not as that isn't able to influence you in a positive way, then I think that's where the opportunity for healing comes in, right?
So like an unhealthy attachment.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And we've all seen people with toxic cords, and the funny thing that I think about when I mention to clients that I have on my table that I find a toxic cord, about 98% of the time they know exactly.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they know exactly who it's attached to. They know exactly if it's a workplace or a partner or no. They absolutely know, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's what we talked about the other day. It's some people don't want to heal because it makes them take responsibility for their own healings, and like you said, most people know exactly where those attachments are, but you got to do something about it.
Yeah. That because when I first started doing healing work, I thought that I was actually going to tell people something that they didn't know, like, oh, you have a toxic cord that's and I was just amazed that they would come back with a name immediately, with no hesitation.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So this is not like I'm not dropping information. This isn't a revelation, right? So interesting that even knowing they people still persist. That's curious. But
I think sometimes people are comfortable in the pain because that's what they know, and I think a lot of times something new is really scary. So they choose to live with the pain because they already know how to deal with it. It's a routine, you know?
Yeah, and I think for some people it's always been that way, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of their norm. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know, and if you know, if that's sort of what you've always been exposed to, then you know your perception or this is your reality, and
Yeah.
this is just how things are. And
And I
so you
guess,
know,
yeah.
we get very comfortable in the reality that we see every day.
Yeah, that's true. Even if it's painful.
That's what we see every day. So that's our
Yeah.
reality, you know. And uh, it takes a certain kind of person to be open to the possibilities of other realities. So
Hmm. And I guess when you say they siphon off energy or those attachments, um, my mind right away went to triggers. Do you think it's kind of like that where something happens and it just kind of triggers your wound and then you react in a certain way, even though maybe people would say, "Oh, you're overreacting," but it's kind of like it hits this wound. Or is it something different?
oh yeah, well, so you know, look at that chord like a guitar string or a violin string,
Oh yeah.
and so whatever happens, just plucks it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
similar,
true.
a similar event happens, it plucks it, and it resonates.
Mm-hmm.
Just it pulls all that right back up.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good picture. It's a good metaphor, that you strike that chord, which people say, "Oh, you struck a chord with me." That's where that comes from, I guess.
Absolutely, and so you know, so I think part of I think I believe the whole goal of healing yourself or holding yourself should be ultimately to reclaim your power and your authenticity. I think that's what the whole thing is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, you know, if you find those little bits of soul that have been lost or whatever, and you can reintegrate those,
Mm-hmm.
if you can heal or whole your physical body, your because it really is mind, body, spirit, right? So if you can hold
Right.
your mind, if you can hold your body, if you can hold your spirit or your soul,
Mm-hmm.
then I think in that moment you are starting to step into your authenticity and really reclaim your power. I think that's where it's at. And then it doesn't, you know, if that trigger happens or somebody plucks that cord, there's no cord to pluck anymore, right? That's a result.
Exactly.
It won't resonate because it's now you've internalized it and it's part of your body. It's part of the totality of your spirit, your being.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I mean, that's what I think everybody should aspire to. I don't know that everybody's ready to step into that power.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think just to clarify, I think what I read was that your soul doesn't go anywhere. That split of piece of soul, it doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of hides really deep down in your psyche, your higher self, somewhere. So it's still there. It just kind of hides away with all that pain to protect yourself or to protect you from um, feeling that pain constantly, I guess, or every day. And so,
Yeah, that could be. I can see that.
yeah.
I can see where it uh, kind of sinks into the shadow a little bit into your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
So, do you think that a soul can fragment into several different pieces
Oh
with
yeah,
different triggers and
I,
different wounds?
absolutely. Yeah, I think every event that a person can't process at the time, or they can't deal with, or it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can encapsulate a little piece each time, right?
Wow.
Uh, you know, so how broken is broken, right? You know, um, I mean,
True.
I use that word, but then at the same time, I don't ever really see anybody as broken. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's which I'll come back to that later when we talk about
Yeah. Yeah.
reclaim.
So, how do we know, or how does somebody know? I mean, obviously, when you know you have triggers or something or somebody does struck a chord, but other than that, how do you know that you may have a fragmented soul? I mean, what else, what
Uh,
other feelings, or what other symptoms are there that shows?
so the indigenous peoples back in antiquity used to say, um, whenever you stop singing, whenever you stop dancing, whenever you stop laughing, right,
Mm-hmm.
where you lost a part of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could consolidate that into how often do you experience joy? I mean, can you
Mm-hmm.
experience joy? I think life should be joyous. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
Yeah,
fleeting. It's fleeting for some people, right?
yeah.
Uh, but I mean, life should be a celebration. It's every day should be a brand new day, a day of discovery, and what's
Yeah.
next. Because every day is a gift. So
I agree. I agree. I mean, like we said or talked about some other time, you still have moments where things are happening to you, but it's always, how do you look at it, or how do you, or the awareness about those are triggers will help you just take things or look at things from a different angle and maybe not get too upset about it or too distraught over it. I mean, you will always have those things in life. I think that's why we're here on this planet in this lifetime to have lessons or experiences. But I think that you can still enjoy life to the fullest once you kind of wake up, or you have this awareness about your healing process.
yes, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but how does a fragmented soul affect you in a physical, emotional, or spiritual health? Do you have
Well,
any?
yeah, that's a very good question. Let me think about that. You know, I, as I said before, I think spirit, mind, body, right? I think
That's true.
it's sort of a hologram the way it trickles down, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
as above, so below. I don't think, you know, however this worked, and like whoever came up with the plan, I don't know, but here we have this transcendental consciousness that's
Mm-hmm.
stuck in a very temporary physical bag of uh, you know minerals and oxygen, and it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I would agree that I think the whole point of this is to learn. So I don't know. I don't know that a spirit or a spiritual energy, a soul without a body, how would it how how would it learn, right?
True. True.
I mean, in the spirit world or for spirits, I mean, how would they experience these things? You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Can you hmm. I guess you can have a fragmented soul that's already happened like during childhood, correct? I mean, this can happen very early and you just kind of carry it with you and you kind of grow up and but I guess we've talked about this before as well. Like you have this childhood trauma. I guess a fragmented soul can already happen in childhood, correct?
oh yeah, well, I've read some things about trauma in childbirth, uh, and I can't. Of course, I can't remember that far, but
Sure.
I would think that would be. I mean, I can see that. I would think that would be extremely hard to process
Mm-hmm.
for an infant to what I'm very comfortable. I'm very warm in mother's womb, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. Uh, yeah. I mean, I suppose it could, but yeah, I think so over the years, I've worked with people, and they've asked me to look at things where what a common question is why can't I seem to get past a certain point, right?
Why can you what?
Why can't they seem to get past a certain point?
Oh yeah. Okay, yes.
Um, and so a lot of times when I look back at that, I'll find like one thing, right? Like maybe that was the seed, that was a seminal thing. One thing, usually in childhood years, And then it's like everything kind of stems from that one thing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
not making sense. Like that was the original crack in the eggshell, right? That's the one thing. If we could just overcome that one thing, or heal that, or resolve that, then
Mm-hmm.
everything else falls into place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it might look like a lot, right? I mean, it might look like, well, I got this issue and this issue and this issue, but sort of if you trace it back, they're not different issues. It's just sort of different manifestations of one issue. Did I lose you?
Yeah. Do you think that in order to have a fragmented soul, do you think it's always about trauma? Can it just be stress or um, heartbreak? And I don't want to say just, because for some people that's a lot, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so I will say uh, it's something significant enough, right? That because if you're in a car wreck or you fall off a roof or something, there's a
Hmm.
lot going on. Your mind, your mind has this neat little thing where it makes you pass out, so you don't experience the pain.
That's true.
And so I think the spirit and the soul has that same mechanism, right?
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
So I think it just taps out because whatever's coming, it's not prepared for, and it would rather just take a time out. So does it have to be trauma or abuse? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it just has to be too much, right?
Too much for that person or too much for that soul, I guess,
Right.
or for
Too
that
much,
spirit.
too fast, whatever the situation, just time out, can't deal. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, that's true.
Yeah, no, I don't think it has to be a physical abuse or a sexual abuse or
Yeah.
whatever's too much. So if you're a young child and you tragically lose your parents, right? And now you feel
Hmm.
very abandoned and alone. Is it too much? Absolutely.
Probably. Yeah.
Um, but I think we can broadly kind of call that trauma because, I don't know the definition of the word, but I think too much or whatever is shockingly uh, violent to a spirit, right?
Hmm.
You know, I think we could count that as trauma. That's
I
a very
agree.
that's a kind of a general term, but I think it works.
Yeah. I guess we can't really discount and say, "Oh, that wasn't really that bad. That this and this happened to you," because it's really not up to you to decide what's too much for somebody else's spirit.
Exactly, because
You know.
I mean, we're all sort of processing things
Mm-hmm.
uh, through our own lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas if something were to happen to me that is just too much for me, you might be able to weather that very well.
Right. Exactly.
Um, but it really, I mean, it's all a very personal thing, right? So
It is. It's a very personal thing. And here's an off question. So when I wonder why some people are stronger than others, do you think it stems from past lives or because there might be an old soul or maybe somebody else is a younger soul, or do you think that has anything to do with that?
yeah, so I absolutely do think Earth is a proving ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the point to come in here is it's like tempering steel, right? So you pass it through the flames, and then it gets different life lessons, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the curriculum is for each person in their life, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't bother them because that's not their lesson for this life.
That's very true. Yes.
Maybe in the next one that will be their only lesson.
Yeah. Do you think we take fragmented souls? If we don't heal in one lifetime, do you think we take it into the next one?
So uh, yeah, I've always kind of looked at past lives as a past, right?
As a what?
They're past. So
Okay.
um, and I always felt like if something wasn't resolved in the last life, it would be here in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so me being me, I mean, I try to stay like present with like it's just easier to manage for me just to focus on right now. And uh, no, but I don't think that if a soul is, quote unquote, broken here, then when it transitions back into the soul plane, I don't think it's still necessarily broken. I think that's just a maybe it gets recycled, maybe it gets held back to do fifth grade over again, right? But I don't think it stays broken.
So I think that I don't know how, it's everything is just so vast. And I guess we never really know all the details until we actually do pass over or our soul returns to source. But um, I wonder if that's like past life karma or past life trauma that we have not resolved. We come back and we have the same lessons over and over again. And even in this lifetime or in the same lifetime, I think if we're stuck in a pattern and we get the same situations over and over again, I wonder if this has something to do with it, that we know this is what spirit wants us to heal. Like, hey, this is part of your fragmented soul. You need to heal this and then to be whole again. Do you think it has any ties to that, or?
So I'll say this about spirits and souls.
Mm-hmm.
How do I put this? I think there's a different common frequency and resonance for souls, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Kind of like like if you have a branch of a tree, it may be or different branches of the tree, and maybe these upper
Mm-hmm.
branches, this soul vibrates at a different frequency, a different kind of resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that branch vibrates at that resonance, and so the leaves, which would be the souls on that tree, kind of all hold part of that resonance, right?
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so in that way, I think souls have like family groupings.
Okay.
Um, so I'm sure you've met people that you just click with and you resonate with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so there's a lot of talk about twin flames or what's the other one? Stuff.
Soulmates.
Yes, yes, yeah. Which, oh my God, that's a whole nother topic about how you can get into a dysfunctional codependent relationship based on that, right?
Yeah.
But what I see is, and when we talk about finding our tribe, that's what I think we're actually finding. We're finding other leaves off the same branch, right?
That's interesting. Yes.
So based on that assumption, what is the final destiny? I mean, what should be how's each soul going to wind up? Are we all going to wind up at the same place? Like, I don't necessarily think so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe this branch or, with these leaves, this is, they sort of have their base nature, just a general kind of resonance and frequency that they build around, and then they can develop that to a certain point. I mean, I don't think we're all headed to the same place,
We're not all headed to the same place after we leave this body.
or the outcome, right? So,
Okay.
if we come here as a training camp, I don't
Gotcha.
think
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes.
I
Okay.
don't think we're all meant to be. I don't, we're not all meant to be PhDs or
Oh, I understand. Yes.
I've
Okay.
used that
That makes sense. Yes.
I don't know. It would be hard to speculate because I think every spirit's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. There are some people that are very spiritual and they're very love and lighty, right? And they sort of bring that light. And there's some people that are perfectly good people and have no spirituality at all, right? They're very logical, they're very material, and they live very happy lives, and they don't need this, right?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And then there are those of us that this is how we're pulled, right? And there are some people that are just don't give. I don't know. I mean, let's face it. There are some people that are perfectly happy being miserable and happy, right? So
it's true.
True.
I guess it's part of everybody's different lesson that we need to learn. Or there's so many routes or so many rabbit holes that we can go to with or down to with the fragmented soul or the soul in general. But I wonder if if a soul contract has something to do with that as well. You know, before we incarnate, we decide like the lessons and experiences that we want to have. But then I wonder if the soul fragments after trauma, did we maybe sign up for too much?
Yeah, so I'm absolutely behind the soul contracts, because I sort of had that realization some years ago that the people that I found that I've either worked with in a mentorship way or a lot of times healing, and the people I feel very connected to,
Mm-hmm.
have found me one way or another, and I believe it's all because of the soul contract, and
Right.
so I honor that contract when I see somebody and I feel okay, like I have a contract here that
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I
Yes.
honor the contract. Is that because we're leaves on the same branch? I don't know, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm working off some karma from 10 lifetimes ago.
Right.
Who knows? Uh, so from that perspective, maybe maybe those fragmented souls are part of somebody else's contract. You know,
That's a good one. That's a good way to describe it. You're right. Right.
because also for me in my work as a healer, I mean, I really think that we're mirroring each other, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're a mirror for me, and I'm a mirror for
Mm-hmm.
you, and we're
Mm-hmm.
all just each other. So
Exactly.
so to see that fragmentation of somebody else, right? Uh, Not just see it in somebody else, but I think you need to see it in yourself too, you know, or look
Yeah.
for it at least, or kind of measure it against each other.
Yeah. You're right. You're
So,
absolutely right.
I don't know. I mean, I can't, I'm to the point these days where I really don't see a thing as good and bad, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that if we have a
Mm-hmm.
fragmented soul that it's necessarily a bad thing because I don't know what the intention was, right? Maybe that was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the divine transcendental consciousness planned that all along. That's part of the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have these issues, to figure out how to heal it, figure out how to make it whole, and you know, because I mean, it really is how we grow. We grow through all that adversity, right?
Exactly. Yes.
There was a time back in antiquity where a shaman or a healer was the person that actually did the soul retrieval. You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe that we're at a different point of spiritual evolution now, where it doesn't have to be the other that does it. It doesn't have to come from outside. I don't think there's any one person that holds the keys to the kingdom now, right?
You mean as a practitioner?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. 5,000 years ago, it was scary for people to work in the spirit world. It was too much for them.
That's true.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't think we're there now, right?
It's not as scary anymore because more people are aware or okay with it.
Well, yeah, or I sort of think we're on a different sort of consciousness grid now, right? Where
Okay.
I think what people are doing, intuitives or the psychic abilities, these abilities that
Mm-hmm.
used to be only kind of available to certain people,
Yeah.
is now a widespread thing. It's available to everyone if they just choose to develop that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the ability to emotionally, energetically heal yourself, spiritually heal yourself is also. I don't think that resides in the shamanic healer. I don't think that resides in the Reiki practitioner. I don't think that resides in the priest. I think now we're moving more towards a unity consciousness time, a unity consciousness age. And there doesn't have to be a middle person anymore, right? And that was always when I started waking up, I wanted to know spirit, but I wanted to have that personal knowledge of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just kind of avoided everything where there's a middleman, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've and I think that can be that way for everybody. I don't know that people need a life coach or they need a channel or a medium to access information. I mean, if they think they do, they do. But if they feel like they can develop that relationship with the mystery and find out for themselves, I think it's certainly within the bounds of the rules now, right?
I do agree with you. What I want to say to that is that, yes, everybody has the same abilities, but I wonder if not everybody is called to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody can be a psychic. Everybody can be a medium. I read the Akashic records. I think everybody can learn how to read the Akashic records, but maybe not everybody wants to. It's the same as everybody can learn how to play the piano, but not everybody wants to. They just maybe want to go to a concert and listen to it, you know? And so, yes, you don't need a middleman, but maybe some people want that. Maybe they need more guidance, or they maybe just need like the first push, like a domino.
Right.
And you push the first one and then everything else falls into place. So a lot of times when I work fairs or events, one of the most common questions I get is like when we have a reading and I tell them, hey, I feel like that this is what your destiny is, or this is what you're called to do. They're like, I always felt that, but where do I begin? How do I get started? And I think that's where somebody or people need a little bit of a guidance. So I can't say they need a middleman, but maybe a teacher or somebody who says, hey, this is how I started, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. A little validation.
Yeah.
But, so, you're right. I think everybody has that set of potentials open to them now, right? Yes. But I don't think they used to. You're right. 5,000, 10,000 years ago, I don't think it was like that. I don't think anybody could do this stuff.
Why do you think that is? It's because we're more evolved now, or because we're more?
I really do. I think consciousness. I think our, kind of our consciousness grid and collective consciousness is evolving. So I guess I'm new age in that I think now we're coming into a gilded age.
Interesting.
And so I see that with the kids that are being born over here on the continent now, right? They're different.
They're different, yes.
They're coming in with memories. They're coming in with abilities. They're coming in wide open, right? Wide open.
Yeah, you're right.
So and a lot of that's getting diagnosed by the medical field as being on the spectrum, or because we don't know what else is.
We don't know what. Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know what. Yeah, science doesn't know what else to call it. But this
exactly.
This is something unusual they haven't seen before, so therefore, it must be a bad thing. So we'll throw a label on it because we're just perplexed, but we got to call it something because
how? Got to call it something, yeah, and prescribe some.
Right. Yeah. We have to justify our PhDs, right?
So, exactly. So our medical degrees, yes.
We're going to come up with a brand new syndrome that I think it's a misunderstood thing, but I really do think that's the evolution of human consciousness.
Interesting. Now I wonder. I heard people say, I heard people say randomly, and that's really a two-part question here. I wonder if you feel like there's a collective soul loss on this planet right now. And I wonder, first of all, how it affects us and everybody on this earth. But also when you say there are more people coming in now, or more souls being born that have this ability, I wonder if more old souls are deciding to volunteer to come in, and maybe that's why it feels like there's more of us here now, because the earth really has a lot of problems. And I think there's a collective soul loss, or a collective fragmented soul loss. I guess I don't really know what to call it. And that's why there's more healers coming in now, because there's more people like us needed here. Do you have any thoughts on that, or?
I do actually.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with your last point about the earth having problems. I don't think the earth has a lot of problems. I think the people on the earth.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes.
Have tons of problems.
Yes.
And it goes back to our very first talk about how we got disconnected.
Yes.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're sort of looking like the land belongs to us, and we don't look at it like we belong to the land, right?
I agree. Mm-hmm.
We uh, you know, if you picture Earth as this 10th dimensional sentient being,
Mm-hmm.
she really doesn't need us to care for her.
Yeah, she doesn't.
I think that's the height of hubris, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if push comes to shove, she will turn herself into a snowball for 10 million years and start all over again, right?
Right, exactly.
Um, but to all my relations, so I share with every living being, plant, insect, animal. I mean, I'm sharing my life on this earth, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is our mother. Uh, this is my mother. It's for my dog, for the insects, for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the sun drives everything. It drives the
Yeah.
weather. So I would look at that like our father. And so what has happened, I think, is people have lost sight of that, right? They've lost sight of the things that are really important, and why, right? Well, I think as we're fragmented in ourselves and in our mind, and as we're fragmented in our body, and as we're fragmented in our spirit, I think that what we create necessarily will have that fragmentation in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can only sort of create from the place you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think because in antiquity it was different. What happened to make people lose their way? I don't know, right?
Greed,
Uh, yeah,
money.
I mean, from what I've read about the ancient civilizations in Egypt, they were very connected to the land
Yes.
in the cycles.
And maybe that's why those ancient civilizations only needed one shaman or village elder or psychic healer. You know what I mean? Because maybe times were not easier, but maybe they were simpler, and we were more connected to Mother Nature and Earth, and it didn't. Maybe civilization or Earth didn't need as many healers as we do now. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah. I mean, that absolutely could be. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why we're getting an influx of people now. It's not,
Yeah.
maybe they're not here to heal. Maybe they're because a lot of the young people I see come in already with this consciousness
Mm-hmm.
of this awareness of ecology and
Yeah.
balance. Because as a practitioner, that's my goal, right? I mean, that's my paramount goal, to figure out how everything should kind of coexist in harmony, right?
Yes.
And we were very far away from that now, and in all cultures. It's not just here in the West.
Yes.
It's a global thing, right?
Yes.
There are a few of the Aboriginal peoples and indigenous peoples left little pockets in the jungle and here and there, and they're still holding on to that. But how long can they hold out? Because they still hold those core values, but they're also in a society, economic world where they have to, in order to survive, they have to play the game, right?
Yeah.
They have to kind of conform to these other values. So, I mean, they're holding on, So maybe somebody else has to pick up that banner and.
Yeah.
My thought is maybe if enough people get here that kind of, have the right vision or in place that it'll turn around, or I don't know. Maybe we need to have an 85% extinction level event for humanity for it to reset itself. I don't know.
Do you think there was a reset? Since you're talking about the reset, do you think there was a reset in history?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think probably one of those ice ages probably was a reset.
And do you think we're heading there now?
So I've talked about that for years.
Okay.
It's good to have hope that things will turn around.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose it could do it. but in order to do it quickly, yeah, I think Yellowstone volcano needs to blow. I really do, and I don't see
Something.
an 85% extinction level event for humanity as a bad thing, right? Um, I don't, and I've caught a lot of flack for that over the years.
I'm sure. There's
But,
always, yes, I know.
but here's my thought: is we're all going to die anyway, right?
We're all gonna die anyway. Yes.
And so if 85% of the population goes, and you have 15% that can actually rebuild our our societal systems in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a reboot. Or, the fear is we have a 85% extinction level event, and then the core group or whoever's in power now just holds on to it, and they've set it up that way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why there's bunkers for our government officials if something happens. The government, our nation, will persevere. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think that's the worst possible thing that could happen, right?
Yes. Yes. Wow. So many ways this can go, but people also talk about a global shift. Do you think that has something to do with it, that more healers and more souls are coming in that already have that awareness? Do you think that's part of the global shift? Maybe something is changing for the better?
Yeah, I think that shift that's probably what I was talking about when I was talking about the evolution of the consciousness grid. Is that
Gotcha.
shift? Yeah, I use different words sometimes.
That's okay.
My language is
You have the language of a shaman.
well, so I spend a lot of time in a place that doesn't have words. So and so it's very hard to bring that back.
I understand, yes. It's like sometimes when I do readings, I have a hard time really spitting out what spirit gives me because it's all a visual thing. And then I'm supposed to translate all that into human words. And there aren't enough human words to really describe what spirit wants us to do or the messages of spirit. It's really hard to do.
Yes, and so I was just I was reading something from Terrence McKenna the other day, and he was talking about um, of course psychedelics, but he was talking about being able to access these other dimensions, and whatever knowledge or information you gain was pointless if you couldn't bring it back and express it and communicate it to others. It was just uh, you know just like for your knowledge, but there was no way to express it. So yeah, he talked about that. So.
Okay. Well, Jim, this is part one of the soul retrieval and the soul fracturing. There's so much more to talk about, and I would say we keep it for part two that's coming up. And for today, let's just end this episode on a good note. And everybody out there, if you feel like you have a fragmented soul, look into it and see. Bring this awareness to yourself and see what it is that you need to heal and to make yourself whole again. And in part two, we will talk about how you can do that.
All right.
All righty. We'll see you next time.